Maybe your New Year's resolution is to travel, see new places, encounter new things. Well, we got your answer. You don't even have to leave. You can stay at home with Dungeons & Dragons.
In the new year, people are going to be trying several different new hobbies, and D&D is definitely going to be one of them.
Definitely.
So where do you get started? So one of the first things that you need to figure out is, what the heck am I going to play? Today we're talking about how to build your first D&D character.
Go find your player's handbook, flip towards the back, and you'll find the character sheets that can be printed off.
Also, alternatively, you can go to Wizard's website and you can find a PDF version that you can print off as well. So you've got your character sheet printed out. The next step is, to me, I pick what class I'm going to play.
Yes.
You can either pick class or race, however you want to do it. I personally do class then race.
That's the same thing I do. I always want to know what I'm building towards, because then the race can kind of assist with that in certain ways.
In the player's handbook, there are 12 different classes for you to choose from. We've got the barbarian and the bard,
The cleric and the druid,
the fighter and the monk,
the paladin and the ranger,
the rogue and the sorcerer,
and the wizard.
and warlock.
I thought there was another one, couldn't remember it.
And if the group you're playing with has access to the Eberron book or the latest book, Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, there is a 13th class, the Artificer. So we've got in our minds what class we're going to play. Today, I'm going to make a wizard.
I'm going to make a fighter.
With our classes decided, now let's move on to what race we're going to play.
There are several different races to choose from, whether it's from the player's handbook, Mordenkainen, Bolo's Guide, or even other ones. I've selected human to go with my fighter.
I have selected the elf. Each race is going to give you an ability buff, be it dex, intelligence, charisma. A lot of times you'll want to pick a race that bumps up the main ability that your class uses, but not all the time.
Right.
And with the introduction of some of the new rules in Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, get with your DM, and if you want to play a half-orc that has just a higher intelligence, you can swap those abilities around. So when it comes to figuring out your stats, every group does this different. Be it you roll your die, you use a point-buy system, or you do a standard array. When our group determines the stats, we roll 4d6 and drop the lowest.
Nice!
So we got our stats rolled. Mackenzie here rolled some pretty decent stats. Now we'll go over to our class and look at what abilities are more important than others.
For me, choosing a fighter, the best things to put my highest numbers in is my strength and dex. They also have a bonus to their strength and con on saves, so maybe I could even put my third highest or mix into my constitution.
For wizards, intelligence is your spell casting ability, so that's the one you want to put your highest score in. And also, wizards are pretty fragile, so you'll want to put a pretty high score in your constitution so you can get some more health, and probably a decently high score in your dexterity so you can have a little higher armor class.
So based on my rolls and how I want to make my fighter more hand-to-hand combat, I want to put it more into strength than trying to put it into my dex to make him a little bit of archer or use finesse weapons. So my 18 will go into my strength that I rolled. My 15 will go into my con, which there'll be a difference added in once we add our racial traits into those.
Yes.
So don't forget that as well when making your character.
Now, Mackenzie, are you playing the variant human or are you playing regular human?
I'm actually going to play regular human. It'll give one score to all of them instead of a variant of giving one to just two.
With the variant human, you also get a feat at first level, as well as proficiency in a skill of your choice. So Mackenzie's going for the ability increase over the extra stuff. I think I would go with variant human just because it is pretty powerful there at first level. So for the wizard, obviously I'm using intelligence. My elf race gives me a +2 to my dex, and I'm going high elf, so that gives me a +1 to my intelligence. So if you see here my rolls, I'm going to put my +2 to dex in this 13 here to increase it to a 15. And that gives it a +2 modifier. And we don't need strength, so we're putting that 11 right there for a 0. Yeah, 0. So we got those done. Intelligence needs to be my highest, so I am actually going to put this 15 as my intelligence for that +1 to bump it to a 16, and that's a +3 modifier. So then I'll use this other 16 for my constitution, so I can have a little better health. I don't think I want to be very charismatic, so I'm putting a 12 in there, and then this 15 for my wisdom. Each class is going to give you proficiency with some skills, and some of your races do as well, like we discussed with Variant Human. For Wizard, I'm going to take proficiency with the Arcana skill, as well as the Investigation skill.
And for the fighter, the 2 skills I will choose is Athletics and Intimidation. You can go and see inside of your class exactly which ones you can choose from for that character.
Some of them are choose 2, some of them are choose 4. I think the Bard and the Rogue are the only ones that have choose 4, but I'm not 100% sure, so if I'm wrong, tell me down in the comments. So one of the next important things is determining how much health your character is going to have.
The fighter's hit dice is a D10, and figuring this out in your first level, you automatically are given a 10 on your roll. Then you add your con modifier to that. In this case, mine would be +3, so I would start with 13 health as my first level.
For me, a Wizard, it's a D6, and with my +3 to con, I've got 9 health. So, as you can tell, Wizards are fairly squishy. And then the next important thing is choosing the background of your character. The background is basically who your character was, what they did before they were an adventurer. Found in Chapter 4, immediately after the classes, you will find the backgrounds. They first start on page 127. I am going to choose the Acolyte background.
I'm going to choose the Criminal background.
With your background, you'll choose your personality traits, your ideals, your bonds, and even your flaws. These are things that you can roll randomly for on the tables provided in the book, or you can just go down and choose from, or you can make your own up as you go.
Also to remember, you can mix and match these different things, whether you pick Criminal, Noble, Outlander, anything, Sage. You can mix them all to kind of make something that may not be straight in the book, but that you can fit into your background of the character itself.
With your backgrounds, they are going to give you additional skills, possible languages, and also tool proficiencies, all which are extremely helpful throughout the game.
Now going back to just your class, there is a part when starting new that we suggest to do the quick build. You can roll for your gold, you can go and buy your own items, but maybe when you first start, this is a lot of help. When starting with the fighter, it'll have many different options, whether you want to start with chainmail, leather, gives you your equipment. You can pick between, maybe I get 2 swords, maybe I get a bow. It saves you that time, gets you first prepared so you can get used to, besides giving so much at the beginning.
Yeah, especially if you've never played before, it kind of gives you a quick guideline of what to do. The Wizard one gives you certain spells that you should take, and you can always change these up with your DM later on, so it'd be pretty good for you. So then we get to the features of the class. Starting at level 1, the Wizard gains Spellcasting and Arcane Recovery. Spellcasting gives me spells, and Arcane Recovery, on a short rest, I can regain a spell slot that I've used.
As for the fighter, I get to choose which fighting style I would like, whether it be better with a bow, whether I get more AC. There are a couple different options to select, and there are more that are not just in the player's handbook that you can check out. And then I also get Second Wind, which allows me to regain some health that I've taken, which is pretty helpful early on. It's 1d10 plus my fighter level, so I might be able to heal up 11 of my hit points right at the beginning. As you'll notice on your character sheets, underneath your saving throws and skills, there are little bubbles beside them. You darken those when your character is proficient with those, which that means at level 1, everyone starts with a +2 to the proficiency bonus. You would add your modifier and the proficiency bonus together to those skills, such as in my strength, I would add my 4 plus my 2 proficiency bonus to give me a 6 on that save. The other ones do not add the proficiency bonus to it, just what your modifier is. And as you go down through your skills, the same thing, you'll see in a little parentheses, this is the based off the modifier that you add to that.
So when you would roll your d20 for, let's say, a perception check, if you're proficient with that, you'll add in your ability modifier as well as the proficiency bonus to whatever you roll. If you're not proficient, You just add the modifier. And the good news with the skills, they are in alphabetical order, so when your DM says, I need a perception check, you're not just like, oh, where's it at? A, B, C, D. You got this. Also on the character sheet, in the middle of the page towards the top, you'll have your armor class, your initiative, and your speed. Your armor class is determined by what armor you're wearing, or lack thereof. Some armor lets you add your dexterity to it, some doesn't. If you are not wearing armor, like my wizard, you will add 10 plus your dex.
Next up is your initiative. It's based on your dex modifier. Unless a class or feat changes that in some sort of way, mine would just be a +3. This is used when you start a combat. You roll your d20, say you rolled 12, I look down, I add my 3, I have a 15. Every other character that's playing, all the other monsters roll theirs as well, and determining in highest to lowest order, that'll be who takes their turn first in combat.
And then we have speed. Speed is how much you can move during a combat encounter. This is determined by your race. Most are generally 30. Some of the smaller races, like the halfling, are 25-foot move speed, and some, like the centaur, are 40-foot move speed. So just check out what your race is, and you'll determine that. So these are the basics of making a D&D character. If you've made one along with us, that is awesome. If this has inspired you to make your first D&D character, even better. There are some things that we did kind of gloss over, but get with your DM and use the knowledge from this video to help excel that process of getting your first character made.
And down in the comments below, be sure to leave your first D&D character. Maybe what you liked about him, how it was, maybe even some troubles you still have as an experienced player now. If you'd like to see more D&D content, be sure to subscribe.
And if you want to see a video about some awesome feats you can take, check out this video right here. And until next time, keep the dice rolling.